Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. Ukraine War News Update, second part thereof for the 23rd of June 2024. This is going to be a much shorter video than the last one, you'll be happy to know. And not a lot of news concerning military aid to Ukraine at the moment. South Korea is possibly the biggest story there is at the moment. It's rumbling on a little bit because, of course, they've reacted to North Korea doing a bilateral security agreement with Russia, and that's obviously going to pique the interest of South Korea somewhat, who are perpetually at war with North Korea. So, yeah, South Korea have said that, okay, if you do that, then we are going to supply Ukraine with lethal aid and change the way we do things, because previously they've only been at the most backfilling other countries who might be supplying Ukraine with, in that case, artillery ammunition. But what they're looking at is not so much North Korean equipment going to Russia. That's not the concern for South Korea so much. In fact, you could argue that's to the benefit of South Korea, because all of that equipment won't be used against South Korea. It's going to Russia. What South Korea are concerned with is what's coming back the other way. So are North Korea going to get, or is North Korea going to get technological knowledge and equipment of a much higher spec from Russia than they already would have had. So South Korea will not observe any restrictions on the supply of weapons to Ukraine if Russia transfers modern military technology to North Korea. And that's the Chief of National Security Department of the Administration of the President of South Korea. My only concern here, because I think South Korea as this growing military powerhouse in terms of its military-industrial complex and the exports that it delivers around the world, Ukraine really needs South Korea. South Korea can be such a vital ally or supplier for and to Ukraine. But if they are going to make their aid to Ukraine contingent upon what Russia is giving to North Korea, who knows when that will be given to North Korea, and who knows what that might be, and it might be so under the radar that we might never get to a point where South Korea go, okay, we're going to give all this stuff to Ukraine or sell all this stuff to Ukraine. I don't know what the time frame is, and I'm slightly wary that this potentially really amazing news might not materialize. And because really what you want is South Korea to right now say, okay, we're going to sell a load of stuff, or we're going to make a load of stuff for the EU, or whatever it is, however it gets to Ukraine. We're going to start that process right now. We've got all these million artillery shells that we have stockpiled, let alone what we can build, what we can manufacture. We're going to provide that to Ukraine right now. And I'm not sure that's going to happen. Anyway, Tendar says, the way South Korea speaks to the Russian regime is exactly what resonates in Moscow. It is obvious that Putin once again hasn't thought through his decision, or simply has no choice. Since the Russian support to North Korea is already determined, Russia tries to win as much as time as possible. South Korea should move ahead right away. And that's the thing. As this headline says, Russia's provision of precision weapons to North Korea would leave no line for Seoul's aid to Ukraine, according to an official. But of course, what's the time frame for that? Yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. It's just frustrating because, now is what we're all shouting. Okay. Ukraine is forming new combat brigades within the National Police Organization, says Detmon here. So a statement here, or a source here, saying new combat brigades are being formed in the National Police, which will soon strengthen the defense forces. This was stated by the Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, Klimenko, in an interview with Radio Liberty. In addition, the head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs noted that currently 50% of police officers are involved in stabilization measures, documenting war crimes, evacuation of the population, and also directly participate in hostilities. Quote, previously, a policeman who worked 1 day had 3 days off. Today, a policeman who works 1 day has a maximum of 1 day off. The load has increased by 2.5 to 3 times and will continue to increase now, said Klimenko. God, that seems very generous time off. I'm not sure if that's translated correctly. The head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs also said that despite reservations, 25,000 police officers perform their duties directly in areas where active hostilities are taking place or which are close to the border with the Russian Federation and the Republic of Serbia. Another 6,000 are directly participating in the repulse of Russian aggression against Ukraine as part of the brigade. So I do wonder about mobilization in general and the building up of new forces. I would love to know what capabilities, capacities the Ukrainians will have going forward, and how their mobilization is getting along. Now, German aid to Ukraine says for the first time Ukrainian soldiers are receiving basic training in Germany. Until now, only specialised training, sappers, medics, training on weapon systems like the Marder 1A3, the IRIS-T SLM missile system, has been carried out in Germany. Tagesspiel reports on this after being allowed to accompany a part of the first of such training. The Ukrainian soldiers are not only learning command signs, how to crawl properly in the undergrowth, or how to operate a machine gun, they also learn a few extras like how to dig proper trenches or how to camouflage positions from drones. For the latter, a drone pilot from Ukraine is supporting the training on the site. I'm glad he said that, because I often wonder about training being given in places like Germany, UK, wherever, where they're given these sort of basic NATO-style training that we would have been using we would have been developing over the last sort of however many years, where the Ukrainians themselves could probably train us. They probably have a greater knowledge. Some of those frontline troops and units will have a greater knowledge of how to protect against drones, how to use drones, how to dig trenches than we do. So it makes a lot of sense that they're going to use Ukrainian trainers in Germany itself. This makes Germany the third country within Europe after the UK and Poland where Ukrainian soldiers receive basic training. And that's really good. They need more training, lots of it, and a higher level as well across, all domains of the armed forces. The Romanian defense concern Petromil and the Ukrainian NALDI, the defense industry of Ukraine, signed a memorandum of cooperation in the military-industrial complex. We are primarily talking about the maintenance of equipment and the production of shells. So Romania being a really important ally and support for Ukraine there. We are seeing we've seen France, UK, US having their military-industrial complex integrating within the Ukrainian one and setting up shop inside Ukraine. Here we have a memorandum of cooperation. I don't know what it's going to look like in terms of whether there'll be Romanian facilities setting up in Ukraine, or whether there's just the Romanian military industrial complex doing stuff back in Romania in close cooperation with the Ukrainians. But all good news. Now, still an awful lot of talk about these restrictions north of the border, or kind of anywhere along the Ukrainian border, with regard to what Ukraine can do with Russian with Western weaponry. As Jane Kiev basically complains, I couldn't think of the word there, the Biden administration's new rule forbidding Ukraine from striking further than 100 kilometers into Russian territory seems designed to keep Russian airfields safe. There's no words to describe this insanity, and it is really, really frustrating, because there's so much Ukraine could do if they were just let off the leash, and we seem to be keeping them so close with the leash that they can't do what they need to do to defend their own country effectively. Now, moving on to Russia. Russia is now reportedly using Iranian-made Arash kamikaze drones. That's what they look like by all accounts. First strikes with Arash were reported near Ochakiv in Mykolaiv region. So Ochakiv is on the Bug River. So you've got the Dnipro River comes down, and then you've got another... Actually, yeah, and then the Bug River comes down, and then you've got the Kimburn Peninsula and the Kimburn Spit. And opposite the Kimburn Spit is a place called Ochakiv, which is a training establishment for the Marines. So the Ukrainian Marines have long been stationed there and trained there. And that has been struck, as it often gets struck, that's been struck by supposedly these Arash drones. The drone was initially mistaken for a cruise missile, but after studying the debris found, It was concluded that they were similar in appearance to the Iranian Arash-1 or Arash-2 UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. The Arash and Arash-2 are Iranian long-range loitering munitions, also known as kamikaze drones, that have been in service with the Islamic Republic of Iran military since 2020. The Arash-2 has a reported strike range of up to 2,000 kilometers and carries a 150 kilogram warhead. It's a larger and more capable version of the original Arash drone, with a wingspan of up to 4 meters and a length of 4.5 meters. There were also reports that Russia has ordered a significant number of Arash-2 drones from Iran. I mean, for me, looking at something like that and think, what's the difference between that and a cruise missile? I'm thinking, not a lot, really. Yeah, drones, it's about functionally, what does any given piece of kit do? And this functionally does the same as a cruise missile to some extent. I don't know how much you can control this as it's flying in the air, but I assume that it's not really significantly different from a cruise missile, really. But I'm sure someone will tell me otherwise. Right, DEFMON reports on T-55s apparently on their way for the 3-day special military operation, the 2.5-year war. If this is indeed a recent bit of footage and these are T-55s, then it shows you what a desperate situation the Russians are in, and that their losses have indeed been unsustainable if they are bringing out the old guns in a significant way. This has happened previously. We know that they have T-55s, T-54s on their books, in not necessarily right on the front line. I mean, the question is how they're using them. We've only seen a couple of these lost in combat, or maybe not in combat, but further behind the lines. One of the theories is that they are using them for indirect fire. So direct fire is where you can see what you're shooting at. So what you would do with a sniper rifle or a machine gun firing at the enemy. That's direct fire. Indirect fire is you can't see the enemy. You're kind of artillery, mortar, that kind of stuff. Tanks would normally be direct fire, but you can use them for indirect fire if you get the elevation enough, or you can sometimes put the tanks on a mound, so it means that the whole chassis is elevated at the front, and that means that you can get a greater elevation of the turret of the barrel, and you can use it basically like artillery. If you're running low on artillery shells but have enough tank ammunition, then that could be a sensible thing to do. Or if you've got a tank that wouldn't last very long, throwing it into the front lines like a T-55, then this could be a good use of a T-55. So that's one of the theories. So it could be that these are being brought to Russia actually as a form of artillery. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. Really appreciate your support. This is a short one, not too much news today. Take care. Speak to you soon. Toodle pits.